everybody, Kara Oostros here with RealAgriculture.com. I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky at the National Farm Machinery Show, and I have here with me Cole Sanford, who is with New Holland. How's it going today?
It's fantastic. We just started. In fact, if you saw, we took a little bit of time to catch up with you because we had a few customers before the show even opened. So this show is always exciting. It's a good time to be here.
Yeah,
Wednesday's always hype. Yep.
Always great to be nice and busy at the booth for sure, and it is busy.
That's right.
You were here talking about 45 years of the twin rotor. So can you talk a bit about what you got behind you?
Yeah, sure. So this year we have a combine cutaway. So this is of a CR890 Revelation machine. For 2020, it is our 45th anniversary. So back in 1975, we launched the original self-propelled twin rotor combine, the TR70. It was built about 8 years before I was born, so I'm a little late to the game. But I grew up around the product. My dad actually worked at a New Holland dealership, and there's a farm that I worked for through high school that used New Holland equipment. So I kind of grew up with TR machines. Always knew I was going to work for the company, and then here we are standing in front of a cutaway of the machine here at the 2020 Louisville show. So the big stuff to talk about this year for model year 20, the CR890 actually increased in horsepower. Went from a top end of 517 horse to 571. It's real easy to remember. You just flip the last two numbers. So we went from an 11 liter to a 13 liter. So we increased the horsepower in that machine quite a bit. When we do that, it gives us more capability for the automation piece of the combine. So in automation, we have what's called IntelliCruise 2, which is our ground drive control system. And we also have what's called IntelliSense, and that does all the settings on the machine. So with this added horsepower on this Class 8 machine, we're able to give the keys, so to speak, to IntelliCruise and let the combine max out its power. When we do that in some of the power limiting crops like wheat, small grains, or soybeans, with that extra horsepower, we can get more done with the machine. Plus, it's more relaxing for the operator, right? Because they don't have to sit there and try to race the machine and get to that pure 100% engine load. They can just let the combine do it.
So looking at more like a Western Canadian perspective,
sure.
Dealing with, weeds such as kochia, how would something like this be very important?
Yeah, so the cutaway is actually kind of interesting because we have some different rotor setups that are in it. On this side, we have the twin pitch rotor. This was launched in that 2008, 2009 time frame, and it's really taken over that Western Canadian market by storm. There's a lot of techniques and a lot of technology built into this rotor. For instance, there's two auger flights up front, so it's a lot more open to push more material in. It also utilizes the DFR, which is this assembly here on the front, the dynamic feed roll. With that, it allows the push material in. It's also a non-stop rock catching device. The other thing too that's interesting about how this rotor is set up is that the rasp bars are variable placed. So there's a high density of rasp bars in the threshing chamber, and then they get less and less dense as you go the distance of the rotor, allowing the crop to expand and getting more throughput and getting kernels and seeds out of the rotor quicker. So it's a really unique setup.
So what can you highlight about the 2020 version of this and how you're moving forward?
Yeah, so really the biggest piece of the 2020 would be the automation, which was technically launched in 2019. We had about a 50% take rate. So as producers start to use the machines this summer, half of our phone calls are going to be about the automation. The other thing too is the horsepower piece. We also increased the horsepower on our narrow body machines, which is the CR690 as well as the CR790. So the whole offering for North America got increased in horsepower. From a Western Canadian standpoint, they source their combines from the Zedelgem Belgium plant, and those are optimized for small grains. So what happens with those machines, they have a cleaning shoe in the bottom that's called OptiClean. So essentially it's splitting the grain pan and the pre-sieve separate of each other, and that's the trick of OptiClean. There's a little bit of a cascade. They lifted up the grain pan. Anyways, at the end of the day, it's about 15% more capacity in small grain that they get out of that machine. So when they look at those machines, they also have the 990 as well as the 1090. The 1090 is the world record combine. That's the one that technically broke the Guinness record twice because we had some competitors that came back in the meantime. And we also, with that same chassis, broke a record or created a soybean harvest record in Latin America. So there's a lot of things for 2020, a lot of excitement. Some other changes in the cab, we actually went to a darker interior. So we took an approach like an automotive finish, so it feels more like an automobile. It's a little easier on the eyes. This cutaway behind us is actually painted silver, but on the real machine, everything you would see here is yellow. So what we've done is we've created a yellow backdrop underneath the machine. It's really easy to know that you're looking at a Revelation machine because of the yellow paint up top. We call them yellow top combines and insider traders, right? Insider talk. But when we did stuff like those things here in the last 2 or 3 years of product updates, it really helps us with the service end of the machine, being able to look at it overall.
So can you speak a bit on why the legacy is important to New Holland,
Sure.
that you are celebrating these 45 years?
So it's our DNA. When you think of the yellow combine, you think twin rotors. The biggest thing I think about twin rotors is the fact that it's matched with feeding. Sure. So what I mean by that is the feeder house that would be here, that width of the feeder house is the same width as the DFR, and it's the same width as the entry into the rotors. It's the same width into the beater and same width into the chopper. So it's one straight shot through. The other big concept too, with 2 smaller rotors, we have higher centrifugal force, upwards of about 30% more than some of the competitors. When we get that grain on grain threshing. We get that stuff out of the rotor quicker in better condition, so whole kernels. The other thing too is we have a distribution of material off of the twin rotors onto the cleaning shoe that's even. If we can even that distribution onto the cleaning shoe, then we can make the cleaning shoe's job a lot easier to do its job and again go through the rest of the machine. The other part that was launched back with the original CR, continuing on this legacy of innovation, in addition to the twin rotors, was the self-leveling cleaning shoe. So the entire cleaning shoe assembly levels up to slopes of about 15%. When you can drive on a sloped farm and not have to slow down to maintain losses, you win, right? We let that automation deal hold that combine horsepower up a little bit taller, or up a little bit higher to that 100% mark.